Here's how to build an accounting firm to be truly proud of. I've just come off an interview with Marc Lawson, a sole practitioner down in Devon. Now Marc's just been assessed for AVN Excellence and achieved 5-star, which is the equal highest rating in the UK at the moment at the time of recording this video. Now AVN Excellence is assessed by independent assessors and are the same assessors that assess for Invest in People, the ISO standards, and also for Customer First. So these are the assessors that assess all the major awards. And Marc not only achieved 5-star excellence, he was told in the feedback afterwards that he absolutely must apply for 6-star excellence, which would make him the highest rated accountant in the UK at the time of doing this video. To find out why and the incredible things he's doing in his small accountancy practice down in Devon, just watch this video. So welcome everybody, I'm delighted to have Marc Lawson on the interview this time, and I'm particularly interested about this one, Marc, because you and I go back quite a way. In fact, it was November 1998 when I was running my accountancy firm, and I went from Sheffield down to Exeter to join Steve Pipe on his 3-day masterclass. Steve had just started AVN then, it was his 3rd masterclass, and you were on the same masterclass as well back in Exeter back in November 1998. So we've known each other a long time, and I don't know if you realise, Marc, but you are, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, but you are the longest serving AVN member at the moment.
Oh right, wow, okay.
Yeah, so it's
that's good news.
So
Fantastic.
It'll be great to hear a bit more about your story. In fact, we'll start there with a bit of background. If you could just say a little bit about your firm, where you've come from, the sort of size it is, where it's based, just to put everything into context, that would be great, Marc.
Yeah, sure. We started probably about 25 years ago, small practice in Plymouth in the southwest, and originally worked from home. So probably like many people, did a little bit of work for friends and people like that, and gradually that escalated to the stage where we needed people, offices, and that was about 25, 26 years ago, and gradually grown from there. We, as you rightly say, joined AVN at the very beginning, I think, and that was really at that stage just linked into what we were already trying to do. We were already trying to do that stuff. But there wasn't a lot around at that stage, so when AVN came along, it fitted in perfectly with what we were trying to do. We weren't trying to be normal accountants, we weren't trying to do just accounts, and since then we've not grown dramatically. We want to stay sole trader, one partner practice, and we've now got 8 members, and probably about quite a small number of clients deliberately, probably about 120 business clients and another 100 tax return clients. So we try and keep the client numbers quite low, and we're quite happy with that. So been growing ever since in terms of what we do, but not so much taking on the world in terms of staff numbers.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. Now, one of the things that I'm particularly interested to find out more about is I know that you've just achieved 5-star AVN Excellence, which is for people who don't know, it's independently assessed by the same people who invest in people, and you are one of a very small handful of people in the UK that have now got 5-star excellence. Nobody's got 6-star, but I do know the feedback I've heard is that the assessor, the independent assessor, afterwards said to you that you absolutely must apply for 6-star excellence. So you must be doing something phenomenal, and I'm really looking forward to finding out all the great things that you're doing. But perhaps first of all, from your perspective, the process that you went through to get that award, how was it for you in terms of the process, and did you find that that there was value in the process? What did you learn from the process?
Yeah, I think there was huge value in the process, although it's obviously designed to encapsulate everything AVN's about anyway. So we've, since day one, bought into practically everything that AVN throws at us. So I think we found that it was just the next logical step in that. and none of it was particularly, a great surprise. What we did find, though, when we went through it, originally we thought we'd go for 6-star straight away, but because we looked at the headings and thought, yes, we do that, but as we went into the detail, we started to realize that some of those areas we hadn't kept going to the great extent that they probably were at the beginning, or maybe we should do, and we then started to sort of panic slightly that we weren't doing it to the nth degree. So we went back and effectively held back a bit and went through everything again, and cut it back to 5-star, and deliberately went through everything and almost reinvented stuff that we thought wasn't 100%. So there was a sort of redoing everything we'd done over the years with AVN, which wasn't a bad exercise in itself, because you find some stuff just stops and you don't know why, and it was always a good thing to do. So we've revisited a lot of things and renewed it, but none of it was a great surprise in terms of what we were expecting to have to do to be a good practice.
Yeah, fantastic. And what do you see as being some of the benefits to you and to your firm of going through the process, going through the assessment, and getting the award?
I think numerous. Obviously, I'm quite interested to see where it goes in terms of the marketing potential once it becomes a bigger and better thing. And obviously, we need some momentum to achieve that, in that it's like buying the first telephone. Somebody's got to do it, but it's not much use at that point. So we're quite keen to see what AVN are going to make of it. But I think it had some other effects that were very good. Certainly buoyed the team up. I think we've always felt we were doing quite good stuff, but being in the southwest, and particularly in Plymouth, we're a bit isolated. So I see a lot of our AVN members and get a feel that we're doing quite a lot of good stuff, but the team don't necessarily realise that, because it's gradually developed. So it was good for them to get the praise that goes with everything we've done over the years, and to be sort of recognised for that. So I think that was a huge thing. And also, any form of recognition is good for me, as well as the practice as well. So I think it's manifold, and a lot of it probably still to come, to be fair.
Yeah, well, it certainly deserves recognition, because I know you've done some great things over the years, and I think you're one of those firms that's, I think it's fair to say, Mark, you're quite modest. You don't shout about all the wonderful things you're doing, and yet you are doing some incredible things. So what I think would be useful is if you could perhaps, I wasn't at the assessment, so I don't know what the assessor came up with and pointed out, but if you were to pick out 2 or 3 things that you think as a firm you're doing particularly well, things that you've learned over the years and implemented and got results, what would those 2 or 3 things be?
It's difficult to say, because there are so many. I think one of the things that we try and do that was picked up was basically just the little things that happen that aren't really anything to do with running a practice. So all the little things that are designed to impress, many of which we've cribbed from AVN and other members, blatantly. So things like drinks menus, names in the car park of people coming in, the greetings when people come into the office, the notepads and everything else, the PowerPoint presentation when people get into the meeting room. So all the little things that are fairly easy and fairly obvious, I think that created a wow factor. So he expected to see a reasonably good practice when he came in, just because of the first 5 minutes, at which point we hadn't really done anything. So I think that was one, and then I think systemization, because that covers probably everything else, is that we actually do follow System Builder religiously, and almost everything is laid down in System Builder as to how we do it, and continually reinvent it to be better and better. But loads of other things as well that I can't even remember at this point.
Okay. I know that when you and I both went on the Masterclass back in November 1998, that's when certainly I was first introduced to Michael Gerber and the systems message.
Yes.
And I certainly live and breathe that systems for everything. And it was interesting you just saying that you use System Builder extensively. How did you find it going back in time now, when you started systemizing your accounting firm? How did you find the process, and how did you get your team on board with the idea of systemizing things?
I think to a little extent, which is why we meshed with AVN so quickly and easily, is that was already something that we were aware of and doing, albeit in a very archaic way. So, I understood that systems were good, and to do things the same way every time was obviously a good thing to do. So I think we bought into the Gerber thing as well. We just obviously hadn't got, a complete suite of stuff behind us to do it. So I think the mentality was there. So it was really just pursuing that further forward, and having obviously some software to do it and make it even more upfront was even better. So I don't think it was a hard thing for us to do. I think the team recognised systemization is good, and having some systems to do systems is obviously useful as well. So it wasn't a hard sell, I have to say, but partly because we were already doing things, just doing it in a slightly a slightly awkward fashion, which AVN helped us to fine tune.
Yeah. Okay. Now I don't know if you can remember, but it was February of last year, so almost a year ago, that you sent me an email, and one of the things that staggered me in that email is you said that you just run your 113th BBF.
Yes.
And not only that, the numbers you'd got in that BBF, I think you said in the email it was just short of 80, about 77 or something. I was staggered by that. So I don't know how many you've got up to now, but I guess that's a major success for you. Tell me a bit about how that works, your business club.
Yeah, I mean, we're up to 119 is next month's one, so going to do loads of those, and we are now getting 60 to 80. I have to say, when we first did them, it was nowhere near that. It was 15, 20 if we were lucky. But that again is just following AVN systems. One of the first things we did when we came away from the original meeting at AVN where you were, we wanted to do things straight away, and the two things we picked up were Times Up and BBF, and we did the BBF I think almost within 30 days of becoming members, which is why we managed to accumulate so many since. And again, it was just really following the step-by-step numbers on the systems. It wasn't overly difficult to do. I enjoy telling people about the sort of AVN type subject matters, so once you get over the presentation bit of it, then it was naturally there. So, and clients were saying it was great, potential clients were saying it's great, and it is a very good new client gaining system as well. We get easily 2 or 3 new client meetings out of each one. We used to do them monthly, we now do them bi-monthly, just because they are quite hard work to get bums on seats, but very worth it in terms of marketing.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I'm staggered by the fact that, well, first you've done 119 of them now, which must be a record, but also you're still getting 60 to 80 people. So what's your secret to getting so many people in the room?
Again, systems is you can't, because we don't go to seminars lightly, and certainly one email invite isn't going to do the job. So I think it's lots and lots of steps of inviting people, starting probably about 6-7 weeks ahead of the game. So we spend a lot of time and devote a lot of time to it. So we're sending out very well crafted invites to start with. There's online booking systems to make it easy for people to get to. There are chasers, there are phone calls, there are further emails, there are faxes. So it's just a numbers game. I think we need to make the marketing message good, and the good news is that the AVN stuff's a lot sexier than a financial service seminar, for example. So if the message and the heading are good, then clients will want that sort of stuff. In terms of growing profits and increasing cash flow, it is exciting for them. So I think as long as the message is there, they do tend to want to go. And then it's just really sending it out to as many people as possible, and getting word of mouth by having good events. So I think it's a numbers game, but it does require some effort. It's not something you can just send out a flyer and expect 50 people to sign up straight away. And obviously referrals comes into that enormously. Yeah. So I say we weren't getting 60 to 80, 15 years ago. We were getting 10, 15. So it does take a bit of time to get momentum.
Yeah, but you've clearly done that from just perseverance, taking action, following systems, which is awesome. You did say about a minute ago that one of the benefits of those is you get 2 or 3 client meetings off the back of them.
Yes.
What other benefits have you seen over the years of running a monthly business club?
I think just prestige to some extent. I think we're a sole trader practice, 7 other team members, so the reputation is that we seem bigger than we are, which is always a good thing in terms of getting the type of clients we want. So because you're connecting with 60 to 80 business people, and then they're going to talk to a load of others, and then next month you get another 60 to 80. The numbers game is that everybody will know your name, even if they're not signing up for meetings straight away. So publicity-wise, it works enormously. I think it's also a good event for team members to go on. They get training, but they also get to meet real businesses in a friendly environment. So, and I enjoy it in terms of not having to be sat at a desk all day doing some of the more mundane stuff. So it is exciting to do, and they're interesting messages. So there's a huge amount of benefits to gain from it, I feel.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and I'd not really the second class one you mentioned. I'd not really grasped that before. It's a great way of training and developing the team, bringing those along to the. So yeah, not thought of that. You did say that when you first joined AVN way back in the late 90s, that you did the 2 things you got up and running with quickly were BBF, but also Time's Up. And I know that you've done lots of things with pricing over the years. So tell me a little bit more about how you do your pricing, how you use Time's Up, and what successes do you get from pricing?
It's obviously a big area. Again, one we were familiar with. We were advising clients on pricing even before AVN, but it helped us put all that into perspective and get some systems. So I think initially we took on Time's Up, and our first reaction was to downgrade the pricing built in by about 20% because we felt it was extortionate. And then gradually, within the space of a year or so, not much more, we got up to where it was originally, and probably fairly soon after that went beyond. So I think it's given us the confidence to charge what is the right figure, which obviously accountants tend not to do. I think also the other benefit was that we were able to present a client with a computerized system that looked very thorough and efficient, rather than just sort of looking inwards for 10 seconds and coming up with a number. We didn't get anywhere near the same number of comments on what the fee was, having presented it through Time's Up, than just not guessing, but just coming up with a number. So it looked like it was calculated, it looked like it was the way it was supposed to be, and clients just accepted that. They didn't always sign on, but they certainly accepted that it was a rigorous process to coming up with the figures, and we could then play around to find a method that suited. We could strip stuff out, we could add stuff in. So we very much used that to create a whole range of different things that people can sign up for or not sign up for, so there's a greater chance they'll find a price that suits, from a 2-star right up to a 5-star. It can be whatever they want it to be.
Yeah, and do you use Time's Up then for all meetings with prospects and also for all clients every year to price their compliance work?
We don't tend to use it every year, I have to admit. We do it with every new client, even if it's a tax return case. We go through it, partly because it also helps us to explain what we do. So even if they're not signing up for added value stuff, they can certainly see there's a whole range of things beyond the compliance bits. But we don't then go through that every year. We tend to then just send out renewal letters with the latest figures in ongoing, and unless those are going to be dramatically different from the year before, we don't rerun it through. But every single client has that, and we also use it just to check clients who maybe have changed a bit over the years, to see whether it still fits maybe 10 years later. But it's certainly used for every single new client facing meeting.
Yeah, well, you may not remember this, Mark, but as you know, I do a lot of my biggest passion is pricing, and written the book and the training program, etc. But it was probably you that got me started on the journey. And you probably won't remember this, but I made so many mistakes in the area of pricing in the early days of my accounting firm, which I started in 1996. And for the first 2.5 years, I was way too cheap. wasn't making any money, and then I met you on the 3-day masterclass in November 1998, and I remember you told the story from the back of the room. You explained how you'd put your price up by 20% and hadn't lost any clients, and that story always stuck with me. I thought, wow, how did you do that? And so I went away and did that. That was one of the first things I did post masterclass, and I did it 2 years running, and got similar kind of success. So it was you that inspired me and got me out on that journey. So tell me a bit more about how your prices now stack up to where they were several years ago. Do you keep testing prices and keep putting them up and testing new ideas?
Yeah, we do. Obviously, it's been a tough couple of years, I think, for pricing generally for accountants. And I have to say that when we mentioned the 20% increase all those years ago, that was pretty much by default, in that we had to do that. We weren't financially doing anywhere near as well as we should have done, and yet we were busy all the time. So logic said that we either continue being very busy and going out getting more clients in order to grow the profit, or logic said have a look at the pricing side. Maybe the pricing was too low. So the 20% increase was a necessity. It wasn't a testing at that stage. We had to do it, and luckily it did work out because we were doing some good stuff and probably undercharging. Since then, I mean, even after that time, there were many years where we were putting prices up 5-10% each year anyway, and that's obviously gradually slowed down a bit with the current recession and the way competition's working. But we are looking to still adopt that attitude in the non-compliance area. So the whole 3, 4, 5-star approach works very well outside compliance work, and I think it's just not undercharging and not underselling what we do, certainly in areas where there's value. I mean, we got a client just before Christmas, which was a huge tax case, emigrating to Australia, loads of work connected with that, and there was almost the thought that this was going to be a huge amount of work for at least 2 people at Christmas, when people were winding down. So we quoted very, very high, thinking that if we don't get it, actually we'll be quite relieved, and if we do get it, then it will be a very big fee, and we did get it. So I think confidence comes with continually pushing prices up and still getting a lot of work from it, because that's how it should be. A lot of the work is very clever and very useful, and should have the price tag to match. But certainly the compliance stuff we've noticed is a lot more competitive these days. So probably the AVN message of moving away from just compliance and charging the right figures for the clever stuff is still the right way forward, in my view.
Yeah, and it was an interesting point you made there about I think confidence is one of the key things. If you want to be successful at selling and pricing, you've got to be prepared to walk away. And it's the firms that seem to be desperate for work are the ones that undersell themselves, undercharge, and end up never making money.
Absolutely, and it is difficult in the early years, to be fair, when you've only got some clients and you've got loads of capacity. That the danger is you will want to take on everybody. So the one-man band subcontractors, they're all money at that stage. But I think as time goes by, you can build up the confidence to say, well, we have an ideal client profile. We don't do everything, just because there's a wallet and a pulse there. We don't just take them on. We are very specific and choosy, and that just comes with time and confidence. I think it's very difficult early on.
Yeah. So you've talked about that you run this 119 business clubs, helping people to build better businesses using a monthly business club. You've obviously got systems ingrained completely within your own practice, and you've also just mentioned about the importance of moving away a bit from the compliance work and doing more added value things with clients. So tell me a bit more about the sort of work that you do with clients.
Well, let's not get too carried away. We still do quite a bit of accounts and tax returns. The big change is that I don't do any of that now. I'm not allowed to do any of it because my knowledge and that has slowly waned over the years. So we still do a fair bit of that, but the areas that we're getting involved with is certainly the profit growth type of work, is understanding what drives clients. So we're very keen on doing the one-page plans, for example. We've done quite a number of those with clients. we're involved in exit strategy. So we've built up some good relationships with people like BCMS, where we're able to go out and get 50% more than traditional values for clients on exiting, and that's obviously very useful for them. Basic stuff in terms of tax planning, so incorporation systems and the remuneration systems that AVN provide, are going down very well. So there's all of those. There's cash flow work, there's obtaining finance, there's helping with sales and marketing. So there's a whole range of things that we do that are very interesting to me, and we still have a team doing accounts and tax returns. I just don't get that involved with it anymore.
Very sensible. Yeah. I keep noticing that word systems keeps cropping up in pretty much everything you say, which
yes.
It's fascinating how it is so ingrained. So thinking about systems, then and going back to the pricing, with all this wide range of different types of advisory work that you do, what sort of systems do you use for pricing that work?
It's basically service request sheets for everything. So everything has a very user-friendly description of what it is, so people can actually say there is a product. Everything has a name. And that's something that we picked up from AVN early on, is not just to say we do stuff, but we actually have a program called Business Builder. It has a name, it is a real thing. So everything has that. Everything has fixed prices, so we have systems for making sure there are fixed prices, no hourly rates on anything other than tax investigation insurance, which is forced upon us. And then basically going through a proper quoting package and arranging for easy payment plans. So I think that goes down well with clients if they know there's a definite fee for doing something, often if we can success based. So we will try different testings with success based or percentage of refunds, etc., or percentage of selling business values, and try those. But I think if people can see there's a benefit, and ideally a guaranteed benefit, then paying is not a problem, and they know exactly what they're facing. It's fixed, and often it will be payable over 12 direct debits as well. So a whole range of things.
Yeah. You at the start of this interview, you mentioned about some of the things the importance of the little things, and I know that one thing that's very important to you is client service, and clearly that was one of the things that impressed the AVN Excellence Assessor. Now I know the answer is going to be systems, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. How do you make sure that you wow clients all the time?
Systems.
How do those systems work in practice? If you perhaps give an example or two.
Well, it's I was being slightly tongue-in-cheek, but it's also about obviously recruiting people who are going to be willing to adopt systems and not be mavericks and think that their way is always the best way. If they can improve things, we'll certainly take on those recommendations. But I think having the right team to follow them is crucial, so that they are willing, to listen and do things a better way in a better way. But then it is all about training and having the systems to say this is how we do it. So from simple things like answering the phone, one of the comments was that the system of answering the phone was fantastic, but it was just a system. It was making sure people say it the right way, in a way that actually comes across well, and just doing that every time, and just making sure that we do it every time, and that we have stuff up forms, and complaint forms that correct us if we go off the rails a little bit. So I think it's just a culture thing which you gradually grow, and obviously over the years I've taken on the AVN method, but as we take on new people, they're actually easier to bring into the system because they didn't have anything beforehand to change. So it's easier now to get people on and just say this is how we do it, and they do it. It's slightly harder when you've been doing it a different way for 10 years and then say, right, today we're going to change. So time helps as well. But it's culture, and it's obviously the individual team being willing to do that.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, Mark, we're coming to the end of our time together, so I've got my final question for you is, and I know there's a whole range of things we could talk about because you've touched on customer service, pricing, systems, business clubs, but if you could just share 3 tips with other accountants watching, what would your top 3 tips be for building a successful accounting practice?
I think probably number one, and it is difficult in the current environment, is to have the confidence to know that what they do is actually head and shoulders above the average accountant. And I think, ABN Excellence has taught us that, that actually most people probably do a lot of the things in ABN Excellence, so they probably are 5-star, 6-star people already. They just maybe haven't had the certification. So I think recognise that we generally do things a lot better and a lot differently, and that counts for a lot. So I think have the confidence. Second thing is probably to dive into the AVN systems and do the stuff. It does work. It's there for a reason, and just again try and find the time and have the confidence to do those. And probably the third thing would just be get System Builder up and running, because from that flows everything else really. Everything you need to do and the way you need to do it is in there, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel. That's the model, that's the Bible from my point of view. You don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about how to do stuff. It's all there, so just need to go out and do it really.
Yeah, wow, that's powerful stuff. Thank you for sharing those things. So unfortunately we've run out of time, Mark, but okay. I've really enjoyed finding out more about the awesome stuff you're doing, and I want to finish on just a congratulations, well done for the award. It's well and truly deserved. And so that just leaves me to say thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, no problem. Cheers, Mark.
Welcome. Bye then.
Okay, bye.
What a success story. There were some awesome tips in that interview. And if you'd like more insights on how you can build a more successful, more profitable and more enjoyable to run accounting firm, then why not come and join me at an AVN productivity event. Come along to a productivity event and you'll get the chance to spend a full day with me and with Steve Pipe, and we'll share with you dozens and dozens of ideas that have been proven to work over the years for building a more successful, more profitable accounting firm. All you need to do is click on the link below this video and you'll be able to find out when the next round of productivity events are taking place, where they're taking place, and be able to book your place. I look forward to seeing you at Productivity. Bye for now.